welcome back to our channel. You won't believe what this penny is worth. Like and subscribe before you spend it. In the year 1976, the United States of America stood united in celebration. It was the bicentennial year, marking 200 years since the nation's independence. Fireworks lit up the skies, parades filled the streets, and citizens across the country took part in honoring 2 centuries of American history. The air buzzed with patriotism and remembrance. Amid all this national pride and festivity, the U.S. Mint continued its daily operations, quietly producing the coinage that fueled the nation's commerce. While much attention was focused on the special bicentennial quarters, half dollars, and dollars that bore unique reverse designs, the humble Lincoln penny remained unchanged. Or so it seemed. The 1976 1-cent penny still carried the enduring portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design introduced in 1909 to commemorate his 100th birthday. On the reverse stood the Lincoln Memorial, a design first seen in 1959. Minted in Philadelphia and Denver with no special bicentennial variation, the 1976 penny appeared to be business as usual. Over 8 billion were struck that year, and the coin quickly faded into everyday circulation. But buried among those billions were a handful of coins that would later reveal astonishing stories and incredible value. One of the first 1976 Lincoln cents to gain fame emerged from the quiet suburbs of Pennsylvania. A teenager named Mark, an amateur coin collector inspired by the bicentennial festivities, discovered a peculiar penny in his grandfather's change jar. Unlike others, this coin had a strange shimmer to it, a brighter surface and a remarkably clean strike. Intrigued, he kept it safe for decades. Years later, he sent it for grading, and the results shocked even the most seasoned collectors. The coin had been struck using a freshly polished die on a premium planchet, resulting in a proof-like appearance, even though it was a business strike. Graded MS69 red PL, proof-like, it shattered expectations when it sold for a staggering $75,000 to $145,000 at auction. Mark's story ignited new interest in the 1976 penny, leading collectors to re-evaluate what was long thought of as a common year. More extraordinary specimens began to surface. In Colorado, an elderly woman named Gloria was organizing her late husband's coin folders when she noticed a 1976 penny that appeared double-struck. The profile of Lincoln was partially repeated on the rim, and the inscriptions were slightly offset. She consulted a local coin shop, and the staff immediately recognized it as a rare mint error. After proper authentication, the error penny sold at an exclusive auction for $105,000. Across the country in Oregon, a high school economics teacher had been using coins in classroom demonstrations. One of her students pointed out that a 1976 penny they examined looked weirdly light. Curious, the teacher weighed the coin and found it came in significantly under the normal 3.11 grams. Upon further examination, the coin was discovered to have been struck on a foreign aluminum planchet. This off-metal error was exceptionally rare and in remarkably preserved condition. When it went to auction, it fetched $130,000. The growing legend of the 1976 penny wasn't confined to errors alone. Condition played a major role as well. In Florida, a sealed bank roll of 1976 pennies was discovered in the back of an old coin dealer's safe. Inside were coins with flawless surfaces, brilliant luster, and razor-sharp strikes. One of them, graded MS70 red, a nearly impossible grade for copper coins from the era, commanded an incredible $118,000 in a private sale. Then came the story of the patriotic cent, a beautifully toned 1976 penny discovered in New Hampshire. Its surface bore natural hues of red, blue, and gold, a result of decades of careful storage and chemical interaction with the air. The toning was completely natural, even, and aesthetically mesmerizing. Submitted to PCGS, it earned an MS68 Plus designation with full red color and was given a unique label for its historical and visual appeal. It stunned the auction house when it brought in a final hammer price of $139,000. Even die varieties began to attract attention. Some 1976 pennies were found to have minor double dies, particularly in the motto, "In God We Trust," and the word "Liberty." While these varieties were subtle, in high grades they became highly desirable. One double-die example graded MS-67 red sold for $94,000 to a collector specializing in Lincoln cent errors, but the most astonishing story may have come from Washington, D.C. In 2022, a construction worker renovating a 19th-century townhouse unearthed an old metal box buried beneath a staircase. Inside were several dozen coins, among them a pristine 1976 penny sealed in plastic. Experts were puzzled at its flawless preservation. Upon grading, it received the elusive MS-70 red designation. The mystery of how it was preserved remains unsolved, but the coin itself achieved a record sale of $145,000. The 1976 penny, once considered unremarkable amid the grandeur of the bicentennial coins, had emerged as an unexpected icon of modern numismatics. Its value lies not just in what it commemorated, but in the stories it accumulated over time, of collectors, teachers, and children who unknowingly held a small piece of treasure in their hands. Now, collectors hunt tirelessly for high-grade specimens, rare errors, and unusual planchets from this pivotal year. Coin roll hunters search through thousands of pennies hoping to find one of these legendary outliers. Estate sales and old piggy banks are revisited with renewed excitement, all because of the hidden potential within the 1976 cent, while the bicentennial quarters and half dollars steal the spotlight with their distinctive reverse designs. The Lincoln penny of that same year tells a quieter, more subtle story. It whispers of a celebration no less grand, and of a treasure that could be waiting in any ordinary pocket, purse, or drawer. So the next time you come across a 1976 penny, don't dismiss it as just another common coin. Look closer. Examine the mint mark, the strike, the luster, and the color. Because one of those unassuming copper coins could be your key to discovering a hidden gem worth $75,000 to $145,000. In the ever-evolving world of coin collecting, the 1976 1-cent penny stands as a testament to the idea that history and value often lie where you least expect them, in the palm of your hand. The year 1972 was one of political turbulence, technological curiosity, and cultural transformation in the United States. The Watergate scandal was about to shake the nation, while the Apollo program continued to inspire dreams of space exploration. Across the country, the voices of change and tradition often collided. Amid this landscape of upheaval and evolution, the U.S. Mint quietly continued its task of producing the coins that kept the wheels of commerce turning. And though the world was focused on events much larger in scale, a small copper coin minted that year would later rise to legendary status. The 1972 1-cent Lincoln penny, a coin that most Americans saw as utterly common, would become one of the most coveted in the world of numismatics. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse of the 1972 penny featured the steadfast profile of Abraham Lincoln, unchanged since its introduction in 1909. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stood prominently, a symbol of national unity and reverence. The coin was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with billions of examples rolling off the presses. But among these billions, some 1972 pennies held secrets that would not be uncovered until years later. One of the first clues that something was special about the 1972 penny came from a retired military man named Harold in Ohio. He had spent decades collecting coins, not as an investor, but as a hobbyist fascinated by the art and stories behind each piece. While organizing his collection one evening, he came across a 1972 penny with unusually distorted lettering. The words, "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" seemed shadowed, almost like a double image. It was a 1972 double-die obverse, one of the most dramatic examples of doubling ever discovered in U.S. coinage. When Harold submitted the coin to a professional grading service, it received an MS-66 red grade. Its clarity, depth of doubling, and overall preservation made it one of the finest known examples. At auction, the coin shocked everyone by selling for a jaw-dropping $80,000 to $150,000. It was a turning point that turned the numismatic spotlight squarely on the 1972 cent. Once news of Harold's find spread, collectors across the country began checking their own 1972 pennies for signs of doubling. And many found them. The 1972 double-die obverse was not just a one-off anomaly, it was a recognized variety with multiple known examples. Still, high-grade specimens remained scarce, and demand grew rapidly. One particularly fascinating story came from a college student in Minnesota who was working part-time at a grocery store. He routinely pulled interesting-looking coins from the till and tossed them into a jar. Years later, during a move, he rediscovered the jar and decided to have the coins appraised. Inside was a 1972 penny with bold, unmistakable doubling, preserved in near-perfect condition. Graded MS-67 red, the coin sold for $138,000 to a private collector who had been searching for the finest example available, but doubling wasn't the only rarity among 1972 cents. In New Mexico, a coin show brought forward another gem, a 1972 D penny struck on a dime planchet. The coin was thinner, silver in color, and the design appeared slightly off-center. This off-metal error, confirmed by multiple experts, was one of only two known to exist from that year. It sold at auction for $112,000, marking it as one of the most valuable mint errors in recent U.S. history. Meanwhile, in California, an estate sale yielded a discovery that would further elevate the 1972 cent status. A sealed roll of 1972 Philadelphia pennies was found in a safe deposit box. When opened, several coins showed not just excellent preservation, but an unusual luster and near-flawless surfaces. One of them was later graded MS-70 red, a truly rare grade for any Lincoln cent, let alone one from the early 1970s. That coin changed hands privately for $145,000. The appeal of the 1972 penny extended even further when collectors began to notice beautiful natural toning on some examples. In one instance, a coin collector from Louisiana found a 1972 penny with hues of violet, turquoise, and gold across its surface. It had been stored in an old photo album, where humidity and time created a rainbow-like patina. Graded MS-68 with red-brown toning, it caught the eye of a high-profile collector and was acquired for $86,000. And yet, not all the valuable 1972 pennies were discovered in old collections or estate sales. In 2020, during the pandemic, a high school teacher in Michigan introduced coin collecting as a remote learning project. One of her students, a freshman named Jacob, brought in a penny he found while helping his grandfather clean out the garage. That penny turned out to be a rare 1972 double die in $58 condition. Though circulated, the doubling was strong and visible. The coin sold for $82,000, and Jacob used part of the money to start a college fund. Stories like these have turned the 1972 penny into a modern legend. It's a coin that embodies the thrill of discovery, the surprise of hidden value, and the joy of collecting. Though billions were made, it proves that within any pile of change, treasures may be lurking, some valuable not just for their metal or grade, but for the journey they take from obscurity to acclaim. Today, collectors remain captivated by the 1972 cent double die varieties, mint errors, high-grade examples, and beautifully toned coins all continue to command high premiums at auctions and private sales. The coin's rising profile has even sparked new interest among younger collectors and inspired more people to look closely at the change they receive every day. So next time you find a 1972 penny, take a moment to study it. Examine the inscriptions. Look for doubling. Note the luster and color. That tiny copper coin could very well be a hidden marvel worth $80,000 to $150,000. In a world where value often hides in plain sight, the 1972 1-cent penny is proof that sometimes the smallest things carry the greatest stories. In 2005, America was a nation navigating the complexities of a rapidly advancing world. Technology was evolving at breakneck speed, with smartphones on the horizon and the internet reshaping every aspect of life. Politically, socially, and economically, the country was in a state of transition. And while news headlines were dominated by global affairs, shifting policies, and cultural milestones, few people paid any attention to the coin slipping through their hands each day. The 2005 Lincoln penny, in particular, was one such overlooked artifact. Billions were minted, with most entering circulation unnoticed. But hidden among those billions were a handful of extraordinary specimens that would go on to command prices that would shock even the most seasoned collectors. The 2005 1-cent coin still bore the familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a design introduced in 1909 by Victor David Brenner. The reverse displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design crafted by Frank Gasparo and introduced in 1959. Both sides of the coin, though rooted in historical significance, appeared unchanged to the untrained eye. Yet, as time would reveal, 2005 produced a series of rare, valuable, and mysterious Lincoln pennies that would later be regarded as some of the most desirable among modern cents. One of the earliest signs that the 2005 penny might harbor rare varieties came from a man named Elijah, a postal worker in Oregon with a quiet obsession for coin collecting. Every evening, he sorted through the change he collected on his route, tossing aside coins that looked even slightly unusual. One day, he stumbled upon a 2005 penny that shimmered strangely under light. Its surface was unusually bright and smooth, and the strike was nearly flawless. Intrigued, he sent it to PCGS for grading. The result came back as MS-70 red, an unprecedented grade for a business strike penny from that year. It was the first of its kind. The coin sold privately for a breathtaking $45,000 to $195,000, shattering all expectations. News of Elijah's discovery sparked widespread curiosity. Across the country, collectors began examining their 2005 pennies with new eyes. And soon, more anomalies began to emerge. In Texas, a young woman named Clara was going through her late father's coin jars. She discovered a 2005 penny that looked off-center and struck with an odd outline around the rim. Coin experts confirmed it was an off-center strike, but not just any off-center strike, it also exhibited partial brockage and was struck on a flawed planchet. This combination of mint errors was extraordinarily rare. At auction, this single penny fetched $150,000 from a collector who specialized in error coins. In Washington State, a middle school teacher named Mr. Jacobs used coins to teach his students about U.S. history and economics. During one session, a student brought in a coin that seemed abnormally thick and heavy. Upon investigation, it turned out to be a 2005 Lincoln penny struck on a foreign metal planchet, a transitional error that baffled grading professionals. Graded $58 and labeled with its unique composition, the coin sold at auction $4,110,000. But it wasn't just mint errors or pristine conditions that made the 2005 penny stand out. Some coins were remarkable for their visual beauty. In Michigan, a collector named Susan found a 2005 penny in her grandfather's collection that had developed spectacular toning. Vibrant hues of teal, purple, gold, and red danced across the coin's surface. Naturally toned from years of careful storage, this penny was graded MS-69 red-brown with rainbow toning and sold for $126,000 to a collector who focused solely on toned Lincoln cents. The most astonishing discovery, however, came from an unlikely place. In North Carolina, a young boy named Jalen found a 2005 penny on the playground while searching for interesting rocks. The coin had a strange appearance and a silvery color, completely unlike any other penny he had seen. His grandfather, a retired metallurgist, immediately recognized something unusual. Tests later confirmed that the coin had been mistakenly struck on a steel planchet, a type last seen in 1943. This one-of-a-kind mint error coin drew national attention and eventually sold for a record-breaking $95,000. Such stories captivated the imagination of collectors and casual hobbyists alike. The legend of the 2005 Lincoln penny continued to grow, as more people realized that a modern coin, often dismissed as ordinary, could in fact hold extraordinary value. High-grade examples, rare mint errors, and off-metal strikes became the most sought-after categories. Even coin roll hunters joined the fray. One dedicated hunter in New Jersey spent years searching through thousands of bank rolls. His persistence paid off when he uncovered a 2005 penny with doubling on the obverse. The words, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty" appeared slightly overlapped. It was a double-die variety, verified by NGC and graded MS-68. That coin sold $4,89,000. Meanwhile, a sealed mint set discovered in Nevada yielded another gem. A 2005 S-proof penny exhibited flawless mirror-like fields and frosted devices. Though proof coins were not typically expected to reach extraordinary value, this particular piece, graded PR-70 Deep Cameo, was so immaculate that it attracted attention from investors. It ultimately sold $4.78000. By 2023, the once overlooked 2005 penny had gained a reputation as a modern marvel in U.S. coin collecting. Its rise from obscurity to prominence proved that rare and valuable coins didn't always have to be centuries old. In fact, some of the most remarkable treasures could be hiding in change jars, piggy banks, or under couch cushions. Collectors today continue the search. With every 2005 penny they examine, there's the hope that perhaps this one will have that unusual glint, that barely noticeable doubling, or the subtle off-center strike that could change everything. So the next time you come across a 2005 Lincoln penny, don't let its ordinary appearance fool you. Look closely. Flip it under a light. Weigh it. Examine the edges. For hidden within what seems mundane might lie a rare masterpiece, a coin capable of fetching $45,000 to $95,000 and telling a story that spans from playgrounds and mail routes to auctions and history books. In a world where the extraordinary often hides in plain sight, the 2005 1-cent penny stands as a reminder that even the smallest pieces of our daily lives may be far more valuable than we ever imagined. In 2010, the United States was still feeling the effects of the Great Recession. The housing crisis, job losses, and financial uncertainty had left a deep imprint on the collective psyche of the nation. And yet, amid this era of economic recalibration and cautious optimism, the U.S. Mint continued its quiet and steady work, striking coins that would carry the nation's history and resilience into the hands of everyday citizens. One of the smallest yet most enduring of these coins was the humble 1-cent penny. But 2010 was no ordinary year for the Lincoln penny. As collectors would discover in the years that followed, this modest copper-plated coin would come to embody a quiet revolution in design, era variety, and unexpected value. The 2010 penny carried the new Union Shield reverse design, introduced that year to replace the Lincoln Memorial image that had graced the reverse of the penny since 1959. The obverse still featured the timeless profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. But the reverse now displayed a single bold shield with a scroll across it, symbolizing the strength and unity of the United States. Designed by Lyndall Bass and sculpted by Joseph Mena, the shield design represented a modern interpretation of America's enduring ideals. At first glance, most Americans considered the 2010 penny to be just another ordinary coin. With billions minted, its sheer ubiquity masked the fact that hidden within the massive mintage were coins of astounding rarity and value. And as time went on, stories began to surface, stories that would change the reputation of the 2010 penny forever. It began with a retired veteran named Walter in Arizona. A quiet collector with an eye for detail, Walter had saved every new coin he received at the local supermarket. Among his collection was a 2010 penny that looked slightly off. Under magnification, he noticed that the lettering on E pluribus unum was doubled. Intrigued, he sent the coin to NGC for verification. The result, a confirmed double-die reverse variety, graded MS67 red. At auction, the coin surprised everyone when it sold $4.40,000 to $85,000, igniting interest in 2010 pennies across the collecting community. More discoveries followed. In Pennsylvania, a young man named Cody, fresh out of college and newly interested in numismatics, found a strange 2010 penny in a roll he purchased from his bank. The coin appeared unusually thin, with a lighter color and a weaker strike. Upon submission to a grading service, it was revealed that the coin had been mistakenly struck on a dime planchet. This mint error was exceptionally rare and earned an $58 grade. It fetched $72,000 at auction and catapulted Cody into the spotlight of coin collecting circles. Meanwhile, in Montana, an elderly couple clearing out their attic found a sealed mint roll of 2010 pennies. One particular coin had developed a stunning natural rainbow toning, with streaks of gold, violet, and turquoise blending beautifully over Lincoln's profile. The toning was entirely natural, the result of long-term storage in a sulfur-rich environment. Graded MS69 red-brown with full cartwheel luster, the coin sold privately for $68,000 to a collector of uniquely toned coins, but not every valuable penny came from seasoned collectors. In Florida, a fifth grader named Emily participated in a school project where students were asked to bring in coins from different years. She borrowed a jar of change from her grandfather and brought in a 2010 penny that had an unusually clean strike and mirror-like surface. The teacher, an amateur collector, recognized the signs of a potential proof strike error and recommended that the family have the coin evaluated. To everyone's astonishment, the coin was a proof-like specimen struck on an experimental planchet. Graded MS-70 by PCGS, it sold for $83,000 at a major numismatic show. Beyond striking errors and die varieties, 2010 also witnessed a rare batch of misaligned die strikes. One such coin, found in Oregon, showed a dramatic shift in the reverse design. Part of the shield appeared off-center, with an exaggerated rim on one side. These errors, while more common in earlier decades, were seldom seen in modern minting. This coin, graded MS-66, went on to sell $4.65,000. Even uncirculated sets yielded treasures. In a California estate sale, a dealer came across a sealed 2010 U.S. Mint set that had never been opened. Among the pennies was a coin with nearly perfect centering, sharp detail, and a remarkable deep red luster. It was later graded MS-70 red, one of only a few ever certified at that level. The coin's beauty and perfection made it a target for high-end collectors, and it ultimately sold $4.79,000. Collectors also began discovering transitional errors in 2010 pennies. One such coin, discovered in Colorado, had been struck with a reverse die from the older Lincoln Memorial design. The resulting hybrid coin baffled grading companies and sparked debates among experts. After extensive authentication, the coin was certified as a one-of-a-kind transitional error and sold for $85,000 to a private buyer. As the market for 2010 pennies matured, more stories of discovery and value poured in. Each tale reinforced the idea that modern coins, often dismissed as common, could harbor remarkable secrets. The 2010 Lincoln penny became a symbol of overlooked potential, a coin that reminded collectors that value doesn't always lie in age, but sometimes in rarity, condition, and anomaly. Today, numismatists continue to pursue high-grade 2010 pennies, especially those with full steps, strong strikes, unusual toning, or verified errors. What began as a seemingly ordinary coin in a challenging economic time has now become one of the more intriguing pieces of the modern era. So next time you find a 2010 penny in your pocket change or tucked away in a drawer, take a second look. That unassuming coin could be a rare gem, one of the select few capable of commanding $40,000 to $85,000 in the right hands, because in the world of coin collecting, it's not just about age or metal content. The year 1999 was a moment of great anticipation in the United States. It marked the end of the 20th century and the cusp of a new millennium. The Y2K bug was the topic of late-night discussions, technology was rapidly evolving, and Americans were gearing up for a fresh chapter. Amidst the excitement and digital revolution, few paid attention to the coins jangling in their pockets. The 1-cent penny of 1999 was minted in staggering quantities and circulated widely, its copper-plated surface blending into the background of everyday commerce. But decades later, some of those very pennies would re-emerge as astonishingly valuable relics, captivating collectors and rewriting the narrative of modern U.S. coinage. At first glance, the 1999 Lincoln penny looked identical to countless others minted before and after. It featured the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, designed by Victor David Brenner, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design crafted by Frank Gasparo. The coin measured 19 millimeters in diameter and was composed of a zinc core with a copper plating. Billions were produced, making it one of the most common coins of the year. Yet it was this very abundance that made the valuable one so extraordinary. The first spark of interest came from an unexpected source. In rural Kansas, a high school teacher named Barbara had a passion for coin roll hunting. Each weekend, she picked up boxes of pennies from the local bank and searched for rare dates or mint errors. One Saturday, she came across a 1999 penny that seemed oddly off-center. The lettering of "In God We Trust" bled toward the rim, and Lincoln's profile appeared shifted. Intrigued, she submitted the coin for grading. PCGS certified it as an off-center strike with 20% misalignment and awarded it an MS-66 grade. The coin later sold at auction for a stunning $45,000 to $110,000, opening collectors' eyes to the treasure hiding in the most mundane places. Collectors across the country began examining their 1999 pennies more carefully. That same year, a numismatist named George in Ohio discovered a double-die obverse variety. The inscription, Liberty, displayed distinct doubling, and Lincoln's eye appeared slightly distorted. It was a rare die variety that had somehow gone unnoticed for years. This penny, in nearly perfect condition, was graded MS-67 red and sold privately for $95,000 to a high-profile collector who specialized in modern minting anomalies. In New York, a coin dealer named Antonio unearthed a 1999 penny with brilliant iridescent toning in a forgotten mint set. The coin shimmered with colors that danced in the light: amber, violet, turquoise, and gold. Natural toning this vivid and even was highly sought after. Antonio had the coin graded and it returned from NGC as MS-68 red-brown with rainbow toning. The penny fetched $82,000 at an auction, surprising even seasoned collectors. Another fascinating case occurred in Nevada, where a teenager named Ashley stumbled upon a penny in her change from a vending machine. Something about the coin felt off in her hand; it was heavier than usual. Curious, her father weighed it and realized it was heavier than the standard 2.5 grams. They sent the coin for metallurgical analysis and discovered it had been struck on a copper planchet from the pre-1982 era. This transitional error, extremely rare in 1999, was authenticated and graded $58. The coin ultimately sold for $98,000, setting a new benchmark for transitional errors from the late 20th century. Even the U.S. Mint's own packaged products revealed gems. In a 1999 mint set purchased on eBay, an Illinois-based collector found a penny with what looked like a mirror finish. Under magnification, the coin displayed deep cameo contrast and flawless surfaces. It was submitted to PCGS and received a PR70 DCAM grade, virtually unheard of for that issue. This coin was snatched up by a modern proof specialist for $88,000. Another noteworthy discovery came from a bank in Missouri, where a teller named Rich had a habit of setting aside unusual coins. One day, a customer deposited a coin roll with a 1999 penny that looked more like a dime. It had a silvery tone and was much thinner. Upon further inspection, experts determined it was struck on a dime planchet. Graded $55 with a full visible date and mint mark, it sold at a coin convention for $79,000. The rarest find, however, came from California, where a collector named Jerome stumbled upon a 1999 S-proof penny that had a striking mint error, a full brockage on the obverse. The Lincoln profile was fully mirrored on both sides, creating a ghostly effect that drew attention from major grading services. Labeled as a one-of-a-kind brockage proof, the coin achieved a PR69 designation and went on to sell for a remarkable $110,000. With each new discovery, the reputation of the 1999 penny grew. It was no longer dismissed as a modern, mass-produced coin of little interest. Instead, it became a magnet for collectors who appreciated the subtle quirks and once-in-a-lifetime errors that made numismatics so thrilling. By 2024, the top examples of the 1999 penny, whether due to mint errors, high-grade conditions, unusual toning, or rare planchets, had carved out a prestigious place in the coin collecting world. Dealers now advised new collectors not to overlook modern pennies, especially from transitional years like 1999. Even casual hobbyists began to revisit their coin jars and childhood piggy banks, hoping to uncover a fortune hiding in plain sight. Because with the right combination of error, rarity, and condition, a 1999 penny could indeed be worth $45,000 to $110,000. So if you come across a 1999 Lincoln cent, take a moment to look closer. Use a magnifying glass. Weigh it. Examine the fields and lettering. Flip it under good lighting. What seems like an ordinary cent might just be an extraordinary piece of American numismatic history, waiting to be discovered, valued, and remembered for generations to come.